Deadpool 2 wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a good movie. It was an okay movie. Certainly wasn't a bad movie. But in my opinion, it fell flat for me, right? It missed the mark. Unfortunately, because I was very excited about it, which maybe had a lot to do with it, right? Maybe I went in there with my hopes way too high after seeing the first one, and the first one was so phenomenal and so perfect and so Deadpool that I think this one just really, there was a lot of hit or miss comedy and a lot of it just missed for me, unfortunately. I don't know that I'll watch Deadpool 2 again. If I'm flipping through the channels and it's on TV, I'll probably watch it. But once that commercial hits, I'm going to change the channel, right? I'm not going to stick through the commercials for it. It's just not that good a movie. So in my opinion, here's the 10 things that ruined Deadpool and 3 things that almost saved it. I'm Tessa with mamasgeeky.com. Number 10, Juggernaut. Guys, I was so excited when I realized Juggernaut was going to be in this movie. I mean, as soon as I saw Black Tom Cassidy, I knew Juggernaut was going to be in this movie. And if he wasn't, that it was going to be a super missed opportunity. So I was really looking forward to seeing Juggernaut. And again, maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe as soon as I realized, oh my God, that's Juggernaut they're keeping down there. And then he just didn't do anything for me, right? His CGI was horrible. You guys can't say it wasn't bad. It was bad. It wasn't good. How are they keeping him in that prison anyway, guys? You're telling me 2 guards with guns are going to keep Juggernaut, an unstoppable force, back? And don't tell me they had a collar on him because he's not a mutant. Maybe this Juggernaut is, right? Maybe they didn't take that from the comics. Fine, but you didn't see him take a collar off either. One of the worst jokes in the entire movie was Juggernaut's joke. When he's fighting with Colossus and he says to him, I'm going to melt you down into a cock ring or something along those lines, which it wasn't funny. It was stupid. I think they did it just so they could say cock because they had an R rating, which is silly and forced and lazy writing, which we'll get into that later. And also, cock rings are metal because that's news to me, guys. Didn't know they had those, so... Which leads me into number 9, the Juggernaut and Colossus battle. Guys, it wasn't good. Besides that joke, it was too much CGI and it was too in your face, and that's when I fell asleep partly. In my review that came out, I admitted that I fell asleep twice in the theater. Now, of course, these were 30 seconds to a minute long each maybe, and I was like in and out, but it was during this battle because it just was so... I was over it. I had felt like I had been in the movie theater for a solid 5 hours, okay? It wasn't even late. I went home and I stayed up for another like 4 or 5 hours. So it wasn't that I was tired, which I know some people have said I was tired, and because I'm a mom, I was tired for my date night, which is a whole nother little bit of a sexist thing that kind of upsets me. But no, that's not the case. It was boring. I was bored at this point. I didn't care about the resolution, right? I didn't care about this whole Juggernaut part of the storyline, right? The whole battle just seemed to be ridiculous. And the way they stopped Juggernaut was ridiculous. Like pulling his pants down and throwing him in the water and getting him electrocuted. I don't know. It just seemed silly to me, right? And I know Deadpool is silly, and I know Deadpool is fourth wall breaking, and I know Deadpool. Trust me, I know Deadpool. I've had so many people comment and tell me you didn't like this movie because you don't know how Deadpool is in the comics. Trust me, I know how Deadpool is in the comics. I love Deadpool. I've also had some people tell me I went into this showing with comic book goggles, right? And so certain things weren't the same as the comics, so that upset me. Not true, okay? I actually really enjoy going to comic book movies, knowing they're going to be different than the comics, knowing I can be surprised. Just because I've read a certain storyline in the comics doesn't mean that the exact same thing is going to happen on screen. It's actually one of my most favorite things about comic book movies. So that's not the case either. It's just something about their fight, something about their battle, something about that whole Juggernaut. It just didn't interest me, and it stinks because Juggernaut is one of my favorite characters. I was really excited to see him. Again, as soon as I saw Black Tom Cassidy, I knew Juggernaut was going to be in it, and it just fell flat for me. Unfortunately, that's one of the major things that ruined Deadpool 2 for me. Number 8, the Interrogation of Weasel. So you're telling me that Cable has to interrogate Weasel to find out what their plans are? Deadpool clearly wasn't with Russell in the prison anymore. Why wouldn't Cable just march his ass back in there and kill Russell? Didn't make sense to me. I don't know why he would think, oh, let me go interrogate Weasel to find out what the plan is, that they're going to move him and blah, 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 blah. No. Why would Cable waste his time? He's just going to march himself back in there and try again, knowing Deadpool's not there. That just seemed like a whole waste of time to me. Number 7, that baby leg joke. Okay, it was funny at first, I admit it, okay? Deadpool's sitting there, you know he's growing his legs back, okay? Juggernaut just ripped him in half. If you know anything about the comics or Deadpool in general, you know he can regenerate limbs, blah, blah, blah. You know what's happening, okay? So yes, we didn't see him. I knew it was going to happen. I was excited for it. I couldn't wait to see his tiny little baby legs, and I laughed. They made the shirt cocking it joke, and that was funny, and I laughed. And then they just kept doing it, and they kept saying stuff. And Domino walks in, and she's like, oh, and they're like, oh, he's shirt cocking it, which they said twice, which, you know, it's one thing to do the same joke with a different punchline. It's another thing to use the same exact punchline. It's just a little too much, and it started to immediately, I went, man, this joke, they're going to ruin this joke for me. And then they did. And they just kept, I don't know, I don't know the right word. They just kept pushing it, right? They're kind of forcing it down our throats, this joke. The one, shirt cocking it, haha, great, funny, would have been great, right? Like in Deadpool 1 when they're making fun of his face and they're calling it all sorts of different things. That was hilarious. And it kept getting funnier because they kept changing the punchline. This one, they kind of kept the same punchline. They used it 2, maybe 3 times. I understand Domino came in and said, no, it was your face. I've never seen you without your mask. I kind of giggled at that. But to me, this joke just kept going and going until it made it not funny. Number 6, that sound Cable's arm made. First of all, and I know this is in the comic books and it doesn't technically have to be this version of Cable in the movies. However, Cable suffers from the techno-organic virus. This is something that affects his body. However, it does not turn him into a robot. So his arm shouldn't be making that mechanical noise anyways. It's not a mechanical arm. What really got to me was hearing that sound over and over and over and over. I mean, it was literally every single time he did something with his arm, it made that mechanical noise. Oh my gosh, it got so old so fast, okay? My husband and I literally kept looking at each other, rolling our eyes like, please stop, please. I could hear it. It was just grating on my nerves and just digging into my brain. It was very annoying and it was too much. If they did it once or twice, fine, whatever. I mean, I guess for continuity, like good for them. They kept continuity throughout the whole thing, and every time Cable moved his arm, it made a noise. But number 1, if it is the same as the comic books, it shouldn't be making a noise like that. But even if it's not related to the comic books, it was just annoying, and it really grated on my nerves. Number 5, Cable saving Deadpool. So you're telling me that this guy traveled back through time to murder a child to save his family, and when he gets the chance to go back to his family who's saved, he's not going to do it? It doesn't make any sense. Whether he's the Cable from the comic books or not, which I'm telling you, there's no way Cable would not go back to Hope if it is the Cable from the comic books. But if it's not, it doesn't make sense. Why would he go through all that trouble? It just doesn't make sense that he would travel all that way to save his family and then be like, man, they're alive, they're fine, I'll figure it out later, I'll hang out with you guys. So I say I'll save Deadpool. I'll use my last bit of juice to slide in time just to save this guy I just met, who I kind of was annoyed with and who fought me half this movie. Then we kind of decided to become friends and work together towards the end. And I'm just going to save his life. Doesn't really make sense. I'm sorry. Number 4, just because you admit it's lazy writing doesn't make it any better. It almost makes it even lazier writing, right? I mean, they're taking these jokes and they're just pushing them down our throats, and they're very much adding things in just because they can, because they're R-rated, right? They're throwing in these words that they're saying just because they can. And I didn't feel like the jokes were there to be jokes, right? It felt like they were doing it just to take advantage of that R rating. And the plot was kind of weird. It seemed like there was like 4 different things going on that we didn't really need, right? Like we had the Cable and Deadpool and Russell. Perfect, fine. But we've got these people torturing Russell, which was like a little weird. For them to throw that in there, I guess a little bit, but I don't know. Then you've got this whole Vanessa thing that they're dealing with. You've got Juggernaut, which seemed kind of like, why even throw him in there? It just was a lot of stuff going on, and it wasn't done well. It was done very lazy, in my opinion, that it just became too much, and I got bored, and I didn't care anymore. Number 3, the death of X-Force. Guys, I know everyone says the whole thing of X-Force was a joke. I understand that, but it was not even, it was an okay joke at best, okay? So it was this huge buildup, which was funny, right? I'll give you that, interviewing them, but we did kind of see it all in the trailer already anyway. So seeing it again, in the movie as the only part of X-Force really kind of was disappointing. There should have been either a little more of it or we shouldn't have seen it all already in the trailer. Okay, so you see them all die. I know so many people think that parachute scene was hilarious. I will tell you, I kind of giggled when Bedlam died. And then it was just like, oh my God, are they really seriously going to kill everyone off? I knew it. I knew it was going to be everyone, and I figured except Domino. That's what I figured, and that's exactly what happened. It just seemed pointless to me. Why give us all this build up for an okay joke? To me, it wasn't that funny. So the whole entire part became like a moot point to me. And now I don't even care about X-Force being in the movie. It's not that exciting of a cameo to me anymore. It's just really annoying and frustrating that they did that, to be honest with you. And I wish they would just cut that whole part out. And if I do watch this movie again, I'm definitely just going to fast forward through that whole part. Number 2, Vanessa in heaven. I mean, I don't really know where she was. I guess she was in heaven. They kind of said, is this heaven? And she said it is now. But that whole thing was just not, it didn't work for me. It really just did not work for me. I admit, I thought it was pretty funny when they killed her off at the beginning, right? I was like, where are they going with this? What are they doing? And I really enjoyed that part. But him, every time he like almost died going to see her and her saying you're not ready was just weird. Right? So you've got Deadpool, who's like this merciless killer who's just going to kill anyone, and he doesn't care, and he doesn't care about life, and he doesn't care about anything. And then at the same time, he's like being a little emotional baby about missing his fiance or girlfriend, whatever she is. I don't know. That was weird to me. That whole part was weird. And then he just kept seeing her and he couldn't get to her. And it felt like it really broke up the movie too much, right? It really disturbed the plot for me. I didn't enjoy it. If they had done just killing her and then at the mid-credit scenes he went back and saved her, great, fantastic, that's hilarious. Maybe he makes a couple comments like, oh, I remember when she said that kids give you a chance to change your past, blah, blah, blah. That would be okay too. But for him to like every time he almost dies, he goes and like sees her and talks to her and she tells him he's not ready. I don't know. That was just weird to me. It totally missed the mark for me. And I don't know. I just didn't enjoy that part. And because of that, it really slowed the movie down for me. I will tell you that was a major thing that totally slowed the whole movie down for me. Number 1, the big budget. I mean, I think Ryan Reynolds himself has pretty much admitted this. I saw an article where he said they should only do a Deadpool 3 if there's a smaller budget. So I'm not 100% sure he's really thrilled with the way this movie came out. Maybe he was hedging his bets. I don't know. I just think they had too much of a budget and they just went too overboard, and that CGI was just so bad. If they went back to their roots like the first one, it would have been so much better. I loved the first movie. Again, don't get me wrong. I don't think this was a bad movie. However, these are the things that ruined it for me. I would say it's an okay movie, right? I don't even know that I would use the word good, to be honest with you guys. I will watch it if I come across it on TV, sure, but I'm not going to go out of my way to buy it, and I'm certainly not going to go out of my way to watch it. All that being said, there are 3 things that were so close to saving this movie for me. 3 things that almost made this movie something I'm going to buy and stick in my collection. And the first one is that cameo from the X-Men. Guys, at the X-Mansion, that cameo was amazing. To see all those X-Men played by the real actors was kind of fantastic, especially as you have Deadpool complaining about how they have all this budget now and they can't spend it on any cameos and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that was funny, right? Again, though, that was also a joke kind of from the first one, right? He had already talked several times about how the only X-Men he ever saw were Negasonic Teenage, Warhead, and Colossus, right? So that's something he kind of took from the first one. However, it was funny, and that cameo was fantastic. Perfectly used, perfectly placed, A+. That was amazing. I also really liked that scene with Cerebro, again, at the X-Mansion. That was hilarious when he had it on his head and then he ended up breaking it. But as Deadpool was trying to like think he could read Colossus's mind, even though that's not what Cerebro does. That was hilarious. I was cracking up. Like, I almost started crying. I was laughing so hard. That was a big hit for me. That was a great, great joke. And the final thing that almost saved this movie for me was that mid-credit scene, right? It was hilarious, okay? Deadpool trying to go back and fix everything, okay? First of all, saving Vanessa, great. That was awesome. Of course he did that. But then he went and he shot Ryan Reynolds before he made Green Lantern, which I kind of liked. But anyway, he shot him before he made Green Lantern. That was funny. I really liked when he went back and fixed that monstrosity of Deadpool, of himself in Wolverine Origins, because that was horrible. Like, he's the merc with a mouth. He needs to be able to make jokes. So things like that, if the whole movie had been like that, I literally could have watched an hour and a half of Deadpool jumping through time, fixing timelines. I would have cracked up the entire time. So I think that was very well done. That was the Deadpool that I know and love. It was a great way to end the movie because it really almost saved it for me, guys. It was real close because I was cracking up at the end of the movie. I really, really liked that. Now, I know a lot of people loved Deadpool too, and I really hope I'm not offending you. These are just my opinions. These are the 10 things that ruined it for me, okay? My opinion as a fan of Deadpool from the comic books and the movie and trying to go in there as not a fan, I think honestly I just had way too high expectations. I thought this movie was going to blow it out of the water. And I thought it was going to be one of my most favorite movies. And I went and I just was disappointed and bored, and it wasn't funny most parts. Again, it was just an okay movie, right? I don't think it was great. I don't think it was fantastic, which is really what I expected. And perhaps that was the problem. If you agree with me, or even if you don't, please give me a thumbs up. Comment below. Let's discuss what things did you not like about the movie? What things did you like about the movie? Was there anything that kind of ruined Deadpool 2 for you? Or did you think it was fantastic? And be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any geek-related videos. Thanks for watching.